Hi, I'm Dan Clark, and welcome to my unique and powerful life-changing personal and organizational leadership course that I've affectionately titled The 12 Never-Changing International Leadership Truths that Create Significant Partner Leaders. Yes, this is a companion course to my other leadership-focused program titled The Art of Significant Leadership, How to Grow People into Passionate Partners. However, this course is most assuredly a standalone experience guaranteed to take you and your organization from where you are to where you want and need to be. How? In our rapidly changing world where everybody is subscribing to the miscalculated answers about how millennials and Gen Xers want to be managed and the differences between our generations, we in this course will focus on the time-tested leadership truths that bring us together and make us the same. Every one of us at every age want meaningful work with meaningful relationships and an opportunity to create our own kind of different that makes us irreplaceable as a needed member of the team. For this reason, I have created this course to focus on the 12 rock foundational beliefs and stabilizing leadership truths that have never changed. The time-tested international truths that apply to each of us in every generation, in every country, in every industry, in every single situation. What makes this course the companion course to growing you and your people into significant partner leaders is the fundamental formula on which both programs have been built. Belief is what creates a leader with and without a title. It's the belief of the leader that creates expectations. It's the expectations turned into opportunities that create the required behavior. And it's the collective beliefs and behaviors of everybody in the organization that creates a culture where everybody makes winning personal and holds themselves accountable because they feel valued as significant partner leaders on your winning team. As you remember, when you create a culture of significant partner leaders, your people will not only break through the limiting belief of striving to successfully get what they think they want at the moment, but they will obligate each other to improve their personal value and achieve the level beyond success by pursuing a life of significance so they want what they get and refuse to die with their music still in them. On this foundational understanding, I introduce you to the fundamental premise of this course. The secret to being an admired, respected, and most effective significant partner leader is to be consistent in your beliefs and behaviors so everyone trusts you. You see, developing and sustaining trusting relationships is always about being predictable. And being consistently predictable comes only when we seek, love, obey, and live by the whole truth in everything we say and do at home, at work, school, and at play. You see, it's been said that in fiction we find the predictable boring. In real life, we find the unpredictable terrifying. This is why you can only be unpredictable once. It's better to have a predictable enemy than an unpredictable friend. Being predictable is being consistent, where each part of you is congruent with every part of you, and there are no contradictions in your soul. In other words, because most people believe that the thinking mind, divine spirit, and feeling heart constitute the soul of humanity, they think their intentions make them predictable and trustworthy. Not so. Because our bodies are the delivery system, we must always remember that our current reality is mostly revealed in our doing. Mind, spirit, heart, and body constitute the whole soul of humanity. Obviously, being predictable can be both positive and negative. Most know that self is not discovered, it's created, yet they remain their old, tired, stagnant, stale selves. Yes, they're consistent and predictable, but no one wants to be around a negative, consistently complaining grump. This training course on the 12 never-changing international leadership truths is about getting others to trust the predictability of you being positive and consistently strong-willed and stable, especially under stress. Obviously, creating self is a process that never ends because self-actualization and becoming predictably significant is an everlasting work in progress. This means that in order for us to sustain our motivation to continually stretch and improve, we need to surround ourselves with others of like mind and who seek similar desired results. For this reason alone, we need to create a culture of significant partner leaders by growing more leaders who comprehend that the process of creating self begins by recognizing the whole soul. Thinking mind, spirit belief, and feeling heart are only 3 of the 4 dimensions. Because our bodies are the delivery system, as we mentioned before, we must acknowledge that our current reality is mostly revealed in our doing. Mind, spirit, heart, and body constitute the soul of humanity. Therefore, in our reality, it's not what we think and believe and feel, it's what we do. Which means becoming a significant partner leader is about creating a predictable champion self. Before you can recruit and attract the right people in your organization, you must first be the right person. Before you can attract champions, you must first be a champion. If you don't have the best foot to put forward, you have little to add to the positive mix of the team. If you haven't taken care of your own needs, how can you expect anyone to look to you and trust you to help them with their needs? If you don't know what you believe and are absolutely confident that your beliefs are irrefutably true, how can you be anyone's leader? The challenge in seeking truth is that too often we don't vet the integrity of our sources, which allows it, him, her to perpetuate fake news, unchecked and influential in a dishonest way. Worse, we never challenge our own beliefs to make sure they are absolutely true. One of my favorite quotes is by William George Jordan, who said, "The man who votes the same ticket in politics year after year, without caring for issues, men, or problems, merely voting in a certain way because he always has voted so, is sacrificing loyalty to truth, to a weak, mistaken, stubborn attachment to a worn-out precedent. Such a man should stay in his cradle all his life because he spent his early years there." In my words, in medicine, we know that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. Think about that. In medicine, we know that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice, that in order to get the right answers, we must first ask the right questions. But my question to you is, when are we going to question the answers? When are we going to disrupt the establishment and challenge the status quo to learn the real and complete whole truth about something and someone? I learned the need to question the answers in 2 back-to-back experiences that prove true, the reassuring reality that never-changing truths are universal and international. It's affectionately called the phenomenon of confirmation bias. To explain, there are 2 major roadblocks to gaining and sustaining whole truth. First is this phenomenon social scientists call confirmation bias. Under confirmation bias, decision makers seek out and assign more weight to evidence confirming their hypothesis and ignore or don't fully consider evidence negating their hypothesis. In public discussions, confirmation bias plagues us by saddling us with self-fulfilling social, political, and racial prejudices. Investigators and journalists often perpetuate confirmation bias by framing data in the ways that confirm their views and personal conclusions, as in the case of the many theories on the assassination of President John F. Kennedy that to this day still stir controversy. Most often we see it on television programs where the producer chooses expert guests based on whether the guests share the producer's political and social biases. Is this not a mockery of our sacred and cherished freedom of the press? In 2005, I had a chance to see confirmation at work during my very first trip to Iraq. After delivering a speech in the grand ballroom of one of Saddam Hussein's palaces in Baghdad, I met with the officials who 2 weeks earlier had conducted Iraq's first ever free election. These leaders had set up the polling stations, delivered the voting ballots, and retrieved them for counting. I actually saw with my own 2 eyes the map of locations and heard incredible election day stories. In Iraq, a country the size of California, there were 5,578 polling stations and only 11 explosions. Yet all we heard about here in the Americas, in the United States of America, were the 11 explosions. Why? Because those 11 explosions, but not the larger context of the 5,578 polling stations, confirmed the bias of journalists who already believed that our Iraqi policy had failed. Upon returning, I went to great lengths to share my experience and was on some national TV programs to talk about my experiences. When I shared my story about the blatant confirmation bias involved in the reporting, a journalist indignantly challenged me. "Are you saying there's no integrity in our news networks?" he asked. "No," I replied. "We trust you and know that there is a regulatory checks and balances system in place. What I'm saying is that the news media often gives us the right answers to the wrong questions." I went on to remind this journalist that the person who asks the questions controls the conversation. You can get right, correct, truthful, negative answers if you ask negative questions and go down a negative path, and you can get right, correct, truthful, positive answers if you ask positive questions and go down a positive path. The journalist was still irritated and grunted, "Give me an example." I simply asked him a positive question. Is Michael Jackson one of the greatest songwriters and entertainers that has ever lived? The answer is yes. Then I asked him a negative question. Is Michael Jackson one of the weirdest ducks who has ever lived or been born on any planet? The answer is yes. The journalist backed down. By asking only certain kinds of questions, we allow ourselves to ignore inconvenient facts or accept mere speculation as fact. Such tendentious questioning can yield information that proves just about anything to our own satisfaction and enables us to get what we want. Keep that in mind as I illustrate with a second major roadblock to gaining and sustaining the whole truth. That being, the person who controls the hearts and minds of the people also controls the people. Whoa. Therefore, we must always ask the right questions and forever stay in control of our hearts and minds, which control our behavior and thinking. To illustrate, I started conducting United Nations leadership training in Russia way back in 1991. Glasnost and the collapse of the Soviet Union were well underway, and I was invited to speak on national Russian television. When I was taken to Moscow One, the government-owned and operated TV station in downtown Moscow, a roadblock to seeking the whole truth stood right before my eyes. As we pulled into the parking lot, I could see 4 military tanks, one pointed in each of the 2 directions. The 4 directions with 2-story high barbed wire fencing surrounding the premises, and AK-47 armed soldiers with guard dogs patrolling the grounds. Think about this. The most highly guarded and fortified building in all of Moscow was not the Kremlin, another government building, or their White House where the president lived. The most protected building was the television station. Why? He or she who asks the questions is in complete control of the conversation. And he or she who controls the conversation controls the hearts and minds of the people, which controls the people. Yes, leadership, especially creating a culture of significant partner leaders, is about seeking to learn life-changing truths and then obligating yourself to living them. Herein lies the power of this specific course that will give you tools and benefits that will last a lifetime. Welcome to the 12 never-changing international leadership truths that I promise will transform society's superficial focus on cultural diversity that tears us apart by dwelling on what makes us different, and inspire and guide and mentor you and your teammates to deeply connect by focusing in on cultural commonality and what makes us the same. The promise of this course is to bring everybody in your organization onto the same page, to share the same beliefs, shared goals, expectations and opportunities, and energetically and enthusiastically join you as significant partner leaders. As they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So when it's your time, proceed to the beginning truth number one.